So here we are on another episode of Gentle Warrior, and I'm Preeti. I'm a caregiver coach with Caregiver Sathi, and we have with us Kavitha George, who is a mom and a social entrepreneur, and she describes herself as a pragmatic dreamer. So she has a very diverse background. She has been through a lot of exposure in the industry. But today she is the founding and the managing director of Communicare Education, which is primarily into special care children and training around that. And her goal is to build an inclusive society for children and especially those with special care.
Yes.
So welcome, Kavita.
Thank you,
And
Preeti. Thank you so much.
so the first question that I had for you is tell me a little about yourself, about the caregiving journey that you had with your child.
So, firstly, thank you all so much for having me on this platform and giving me this opportunity to share my story. And while we all are have the role of a caregiver, uh, I think the reason I'm here was there was a twist in the tale. Uh, so, I have three children. Aged 20, 12 and a half, and 6 years. So they are different decades, but I think my birth as a caregiver started with the arrival of my second daughter, Amaya, and she it was a life changer for me in every scope of imagination, by any stretch of imagination, uh, because thank God that I was a second time mother. When she was born, I think when she was 2, 3 months old itself, I kind of sensed that something was wrong because her responses and milestones and everything was delayed. Her responses was different. She hardly used to respond much, which, like a typical child, she would not. And every new mother is considered to be very hyper and over sensitive to a lot of things. So I was definitely put into that bracket. Everyone kept saying, "Oh no, don't worry, everything will be fine." But luckily, as I told you, because she was my second child, I was very certain something is wrong. And then that started my journey to doctors and hospitals. And I was right, unfortunately. Um, but I would say right now, I can say that is a big blessing for me. And there is a larger purpose why this happened. And I'll come to that soon. So, Amaya was initially diagnosed with a very normal global developmental delay, which is a term given for various diagnoses at the preliminary stages, because we are still figuring out how the child will evolve in the different stages of development with intervention. So, fortunately, we started intervention as early as 6 months. And I was given the worst case scenario where I was told that she will not walk, she will not do anything by herself. And of course, it was a huge blow to me, to all of us in our family, my husband, myself, and my elder daughter. And once the initial news was broken and it hits you, then the next step is, how do we fix it? Okay, is there a possibility to fix it? And that was the beginning of my caregiving journey, learning to do a lot of things, and understanding a lot of things which I probably did not need to, or a normal neurotypical child would not do. So but the good thing was, since it was started, the early intervention was started, we saw a lot of progress. We slowly but surely we saw progress. But let me tell you, it has been tough. There have been various situations where there was helplessness, there was now what and why me, and all of those questions, which does happen. And especially when it comes to your child, I think it's a huge it's a very sensitive situation, because you feel beaten and guilty as a mother and as a parent. And you always try and think, what is it that went wrong? And there are many people also to ask you, what is it that went wrong? Did you not eat well? Did you not rest well? Did you were you stressed during your pregnancy? So everything is attributing to something that I did wrong or my husband did wrong. And who amongst your family, do you have somebody with special needs in your side of the family? My husband was asked the same question. So we kept wondering, is it from my side of the family or his side of the family? So these are the kind of things that we went through. And that was my journey, which has never stopped. It's always been, a journey of lot of learning. And the first thing I did was to educate myself, because I felt what I do not know, I need to learn. And I need to learn because I need to know right from wrong. And these decisions are very important, because it can change the life of the child. So that's how I started the entire process. And let me tell you, that I have done a lot of studying, I have done a lot of work, gone to many good doctors, but I got her actual diagnosis only last year. And that is again the real story for many of us who are dealing with different types of illnesses and say rare diseases, because there are certain things which are very common, and a lot of doctors, even from the field of neurology or orthopedic or even the specialized doctors, they also see a pattern. And there are certain syndromes or diseases that is easily diagnosed. But let me tell you that there are more than 7,000 rare diseases in the world. And my daughter happens to have one of those rare diseases. So, all along in caregiving, I was always surprised and disappointed, because I saw different aspects to it. So, just when I think, okay, this is getting all right, something else would come in. And I'm wondering why this has happened. And no one can understand why this has happened. So, to explain that, my daughter has not put on any weight in the last 8 years. And also, when she was a infant, though she was born with her normal weight, she's always been in the bottom third percentile of the height and weight ratio, which is for typical children. So I kept asking, why is it that she's not growing in stature? I mean, every child has to grow. And I never saw an answer. I mean, I never got an answer to it. And the focus was on she's not walking, and therefore I should make her walk. So that was the main thing. I could see a lot of things were done with her. And I was like, I think I was like a real cruel mother there, not trying to understand anything. But though the intent was right, it was about therapy, get her to do this, get her to do that. And that's been a huge learning for me, why you should do certain things and why you should definitely not do certain things. So, all of this, while we did what we did, I still did not get an answer to what was actually going wrong with her and why is she not growing in her size. And that's when we finally got the diagnosis that she's got Cockayne syndrome, which is a very rare syndrome. And her particular case, there are just about 130 in the entire world diagnosed so far. I think there's one odd case which I could see on the internet in India, or probably there are many or more, but the diagnosis has not come through. So this is what she suffers from, and the symptoms are again dwarfism. So she has not grown in size. So she is 12 and a half years old, but she looks like a 2, 3 year old child. And there is premature aging. So her teeth, I mean, despite all the oral care and going to dentists and all of that, I saw her teeth getting decayed very, very fast. So extreme caries, okay, and we had to extract 8 tooth of hers. And every time, again, because of lack of knowledge, I used to wonder what is it that I'm doing wrong. I mean, you can brush just that much in a day, and this is for a child who does not eat any chocolate, any biscuits. She doesn't like any of these things, making her wash. So we thought probably she doesn't know to gargle. All of that was something she learned, but she does all of that. So tooth decay is one of the major signs for this syndrome. Uh, Vision. So she's right now she's developed cataract. So vision, the vision, losing of the vision, and hearing has gone down. So everything that you see with aging, all of those symptoms is what I can see in my daughter. So that's to tell you about her, what she suffers from. And but the diagnosis has helped me probably understand and do things, but the diagnosis does not define her, because it was very difficult for me to even look at her. And when we have diagnosis for rare diseases, there are very tough thoughts in your mind, and very tough questions that people ask, also sometimes very insensitively. And if you were to define the child by that particular syndrome, or also have sympathy, because he or she is going to be there just for this limited time, and jitna chahiye aap khush rakho, those kind of things are something which are very hard for us, though I know that it's the best thing that one can say with all good intentions. So these are the difficulties of it. But she has always surprised us, and she is a fighter, very feisty, and she teaches us so many things in life, to gratefulness, appreciating what we have, and she just wants to have a good time. So that's about Amaya.
First of all, let me tell you, Amaya is a beautiful name, and she is a beautiful child, I'm sure.
Thank you. Yeah, she is.
And I can imagine the strength that must have taken you throughout this journey. It's very difficult to encapsulate everything in a few minutes. And I think what was really coming to me was that, I mean, she's a special child, but parents of such children are special parents. So you are a special parent. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Yes, I do feel fortunate to be a special mother.
I mean, talking about your caregiving journey, and you have spoken quite a bit about your learnings and how you deal with your own acceptance of your whatever you're thinking around it. And but what were your thoughts and feelings with regard to your daughter? You know, then when you discovered it, and like today, when you have somewhat accepted it, and it must have been a struggle to not even know, because one thing which really struck me was that you are only doing therapy for the symptoms, whereas you only came to know last year what the cause is, and what the because the cause will ultimately define what you can do about
Yes. So I think, when I think of it right now, uh, the initial stages were, of course, like every other person. There was a stage of confusion. There was a stage of complete helplessness, that, how did this happen and why. But I must say that thankfully that was very brief, because I think I am the kind of person that I am strong enough to deal with it. There's no point in not dealing and not accepting. And I am very practical to a large extent, because we though I strongly believe in hope, faith, and everything, that should be there, definitely. But what is it that we can do, and what are we going to do, is more important. So uh, there's got to be a combination of things. So I think my thoughts then was that I need to fix this. Like, I need to do everything I can to help my daughter, get over her challenges. But these thoughts, of course, kept changing with different phases of life, uh, as we went through it. So while we were doing therapy, there were certain, wow moments. There were certain moments where I think, will this happen at all? And what am I doing? And where all am I going? We also had a point where we had to, she's gone undergone multiple surgeries. I mean, at least two, three, for her tooth and for her leg. And um, therapy was definitely the last thing she wanted to even think about. And because I was always going by what the doctor would suggest and advise, and that definitely should be the way it is, because they know a lot more. I But I also understood that I understand my daughter the most, and I know what she is open to. And therefore, my thoughts then slowly went from trying to fix things to try and see what is it that is comforting for her, what really is required to do. Because you get a lot of advices, and it all may not be the right advice also. So there again comes back to my point that I should be able to filter right from wrong and what is really required. And I think that's the message that I want to share with everybody, that when you are caregiving, especially in my context for my child, nobody knows her better than me. And I would say that I know her better than the doctor also. So the doctor will advise, but the decision has to be mine when she is not capable of taking her own decisions. So these are the fluctuations in my thoughts that I had, and my thought was more governed by, my the fact that I wanted to have enough knowledge to steer my thoughts in the right way. So that is why the power of education. I educated myself. I started speaking with a lot of people, and then I used to see what works for my child, what doesn't. So, from a feeling of helplessness and chaos, I think slowly I started ensuring that I get more sanity over this entire situation, and I'm able to take decisions rationally. So, therefore, my thoughts need to be clear and, not doing anything in haste. So these are the things which were which as a part of my thought process, it kept changing. And today I think my thought is definitely not to put traumatize her with things that she does not want to do, but to give her every day whatever is required to make her happy, make her independent, and so that she uses her brain and she is doing something meaningfully. That's very important, rather than just being with some helper or in some place doing nothing. She has to meaningfully engage herself. There has got to be conversation. So that is the kind of thought that I have for her right now. And of course, make sure that she is accepted by everybody. And the way I do it is always to introduce her condition, and make other people comfortable with being with her. She does that to a large extent herself. I mean, the minute she'll see you, she'll come and hug you, and she'll, you know make sure she tells you, look, I'm here and you need to give me my attention. And I make it comfortable for those who are meeting her. So I think uh, it's been really wonderful, where we've only received love. My daughter has only received a lot of love. We do receive strange stares, funny questions, um insensitive remarks, but that doesn't bother us anymore. It and we don't. It doesn't matter.
Wow. From chaos to such clarity
Yeah, I don't know. Clarity is yet to be
and
gained,
sanity.
but yeah, sanity is.
Great. Kavita, you are also like part of a system. You have other things to. You have other roles to. So, what are some of your challenges through your journey of caregiving? Or like, what are some of the challenges, frustration, or what would you like to talk about?
Wow. Now, this session won't be enough if I were to speak about the challenges, not just for myself, but for the many, many mothers who I know. Let me start by saying my personal challenges definitely is that I'm also a wife, a mother to two other beautiful children. And having a special child does take up a lot of your time and energy. So, this is something which is extremely demanding. And therefore, I would say that it's very important to gear yourself up, because you probably may not be able to do justice to all the roles. So clearly prioritizing what are the things that you need to do, and what are the things that can wait for some time. And what the other challenge, of course, has been in just getting the right uh, advice, and also managing to managing this entire thing, because there's very limited help, I would say zero help in that sense. Okay, so you need to figure it out how you do it. So I think if I were to simplify it, I'm the only constant. My husband is the only constant in my child's life, and therefore she does take priority. But at the same time, we have to do justice to our jobs, to our other children, to our other roles as daughter, sister. There are other extended family members, and all of those things. So those are the challenges that I have seen being a special mother. And somewhere I also think that I have been clueless about what to do for my child until last year. At least I got to know what it is. But even now, there is nothing that can be done for her. And I specifically get very challenged when it comes to doing her tests and doing her intervention, because she's very non-cooperative. She's totally. So one of the big challenges I faced is, because I was taking her for all the therapies, it almost broke down our relationship as a mother and daughter. So that's where I realized that, above all things, the minute she sees me, she associates me with taking her to the doctor, and that's not a good thing. That was the only thing that I was doing. So one does get into that mode of just doing this therapy and doing things for the child, all with good intent, but somewhere it mentally breaks you down, breaks us down as people, and also the patient, the child. So she had totally had enough, and it really had a huge mental block as far as she is concerned. And she was there was a time where she was not receptive to anything. So, yeah, that's to tell you a few challenges. And apart from the fact that a lot of parents are challenged in various relationships, many a times, I have known of people who have marital issues, who have financial issues, who also sometimes have emotional issues themselves. So if you end up being an emotional wreck, you because the as a mother, you're always expected to do things. ये नहीं किया आपने, ये डॉक्टर के पास गए, ये मुंडन करवाया, this church, this temple. So you are constantly beating yourself up, now what. So it definitely takes a lot of strength to come out of all of this and raise up and say, okay, I know what to do, and that's it. Um, but that's easier said than done. It gets very difficult because we are culturally a different we are wired differently. So these are the things, and yeah, those are the challenges I've faced.
Yeah. Some very important points that you raised, that separate your wood from the chaff and realize your priorities, and also that your relationship. I mean, with the, like, with your daughter. I mean, it almost was taking a back seat compared to her treatment, and how you realize that this was getting neglected. And
Yes.
and to realize that the treatment is only one part of the relationship, and the mother daughter relationship is also part of
Yes, and I think this would be the case with many people. And also, you sometimes see the caregiver burns out faster than the patient. We don't realize how it comes to you. I have known of so many moms who have ended up with such bad health issues, and we are all it's a huge task to really take care of our own self. I mean, I think in the normalcy of life, in India, everyone thinks, okay, if you're a mother, it's wrong to, like, prioritize your own self. Seldom do we hear, look, I can't take the kid to a park because I need to go to a spa. It's like, oh my God, what is priority for you? But really, if you need to go to that spa, you need to do that because that's really required for oneself. So I think, you know, you have not asked me, but I would like to mention here that self care is very, very important over here. And I think I would like to speak about that if, we have time. Yeah.
peace. It is a very very important part of any caregiving journey. And if you're not able to, if your cup of empathy, I would say, is empty, you cannot give it to anybody else.
Yes.
And
That's
it is important to fill your own cup before you can fill somebody else's. So yeah, please go ahead, tell us and tell everybody what is the importance of self care, and how were you doing it.
Yeah. So, I mean, just continuation of what I was saying, that I've always believed that if you are not happy as a person, you cannot raise happy children. You cannot be a happy wife or daughter or whichever role you play, because it does have a spillover. So, while we are tending and we are doing a lot of things for our children, we can never and should never forget that we ourselves, our mind body is our temple. And if we cease to exist, what will happen to the rest? So I think this is something which, fortunately, I've learned very early in life, and that we must prioritize ourselves and do things which make us happy, and take some time out. And there's always time, because I know a lot of us, including myself. There are many times that I say I don't have time. Okay, so we are so into the daily chores and running from one thing to another, we really don't find time for ourselves. But at the same time, if we put our mind to it, we can. I would say anywhere between a half hour to 1 hour in the day is our time. And by that I mean whatever we like to do, whatever makes us calm down in whichever manner we want. Because otherwise you will see that you find different personalities of yours coming out, you know and if you are not attending it at the right time, it's a snowball effect, and then there's an explosion. We don't want to have that. So this is what happens in many homes. And that is where it starts reflecting in our interpersonal relationships with the rest of the family members. So I'm sure you know, like, if there is Amaya who I can't say anything, then it will be my other daughter, or it'll be my son, or and not that it has not happened. That's how we learn. So these things happen many a times, and the thing is, it is important for us to introspect when we have such moments, and that would give us a good guidance. Okay, what is it that we should do, what is it that we should avoid, and don't be hard on oneself. So caregiving definitely does, I would say, is a long journey, and we should not, nosedive into it and burn out all our energies in that initial phase where we are left with nothing. So that's my take on self-care.
That's it's very very essential and important. Caregiving journey in question. Uh, the very next natural question to this is, what about how do you enlist the help of others? Like, how did you ask for help? How would people respond?
So, this support and help and all, it's very variable at various stages. And when we talk about help, okay, or support, it can be emotional, it can be financial, it can be moral support, I mean, and physical support. Um, I think for me, the biggest support was the ability for my family to trust in me. uh, I think that was very, very comforting for me, that at least I don't have to answer questions and people are not quizzing what I'm doing. Starting from my husband, and my daughter, of course. So they were my biggest support. And I don't think I could have done anything if it was not for them. So the inner circle, the immediate family, that is the first support. So I see a lot of differences of opinions even there, because even in a husband wife relationship, we can be thinking differently for our kids, which I'm not saying it does not happen, but the ability to trust each other from where we are coming, and to come to a final unanimous decision. Okay, this is the way forward, and we take responsibility for that decision no matter what. So there's, it's very easy to blame the other person. So I think that is the biggest support that I was seeking, and I got that totally. So that was a big help for me. And the immediate, when I say each of our parents, I think the grandparents, that plays a very, very important role. They also, in a way, I think it was a blessing. They didn't know anything and they couldn't contribute in any way. So here again, the biggest contribution is, I know what you're doing and I trust you with that. We are there. Okay, so that was a big support. Beyond that, to ask anyone for help or to expect somebody to do things was uh, uh, never considered in my case. Of course, I had my mom and my mother-in-law, help step in if I needed, but there was a lot of limitation to that because they were also worried. So my mother was, of course, a huge support. I lost my mother 6 years back, so she stepped in a lot of ways. My mother-in-law is much older, so there was, but spiritually, she was a very, very strong support emotionally, because you always want somebody who is telling you it doesn't matter, it'll all be fine, and you just go ahead the way you want to. So I think between these two moms of mine, there was a huge support in that sense. So I think that's the biggest support I sought, and everything else could be put to place. But these things, so my immediate circle and my daughter was the de facto mother, and my de facto mother too. I don't know what I would have done without her. And so these are things which I have been fortunate. And definitely, I think spirituality has helped me. Spirituality, because to keep the faith, to keep the hope, and helped us as a family. So I definitely, when people say that believe in a higher power, I would say yes. I 100% believe, and that's what's really led me where I am, in whatever capacity. But apart from that, I have learned that help is very limited, and it's best not to. I also think there are wonderful people around. So if you ask for help, you will get it. So we must never hesitate to ask for help. And at moments when I've wanted some help, I have reached out. But yes, through your journey, these are wonderful paths we are taken through, that you also know who are the ones who are there for you and who are not. So I think those things, came out very clearly, and we were able to walk our way through that.
So beautiful. Creating that circle of trust sometimes is the biggest support,
Yes,
and where you can operate with focus and complete confidence of people around. That gives you a lot of strength.
yes.
So, what are the things that you do to make you feel confident and in control despite the stressful situation around you? What are some of the other things that you are?
So I think one of the things that I started educating myself. But when I used to meet other parents, go to different doctors, I also realized there are many, many other moms like me. And therefore, in 2013 is when I started Communicare Education and Training, which started as the Training Institute. And this was in association with College of Allied Educators in Singapore. So we used to have international programs offered to parents, caregivers, and also to people who wanted to take this up as a line of profession, because I realized that there is a dearth of people in the special needs sector. And coming back to my point, I think every parent needs to have enough knowledge to do the right things at the right time. So I think back then, there was still a lack of awareness. A lot of good things have happened over the past few years, but this was a stage when we really think, and there was more help awareness required. Started as a training institute, and then one thing led to another, and we are now an intervention center where we help kids across disabilities to be included in the society. What I mean by that is to give them the strong foundation level intervention to make them independent and make gear them up for the challenges. It can be academic, it can be social, it can be whatever you can think about in a society. Get them geared up to handle that, and get the parents to gear up. So we work very closely with the parents, supporting them, training them in different things that can be done. So it goes down to basic toilet training, to behavioral training, a lot of these things. And more importantly, we have incorporated the essence of mind body awareness and connection. This is through somatic therapy, and that's been a path breaker for me, because I am a huge advocate of dance, music, drama. I'm a dancer myself, and I understand how the body responds to these alternative methods. And children with special needs are a huge population, which they respond beautifully to this, and it's very stress relieving for any one of us, music and these kind of therapies. So that's something, the movement based therapy is something which we have incorporated, and we want more and more people to know about it and to incorporate it, because that's a very essential part of stimulating your brain and stimulating your senses and also calming your senses down.
What do you do for your creative expression?
Dance. I love dancing. And so, dance is something which is dance, and of course, my walks. And the other thing is, since this platform would be seen by a lot of caregivers, it's very, very important to keep yourself fit. A fit body, creates a fit mind. So any kind of movement, it can be anything what you like, but have an exercise regime, and make sure that either exercise or dancing or music or anything that you like to do. So for me, it's dancing. I live, breathe, eat dancing. So that's a very integral part of me.
Wow, that's so beautiful. Like, let's just make it a little light, and would you want to share some joyful moments, some anecdotes, you could have in your caregiving journey? Is there something that comes to mind?
Well, there have been very, very, there have been so many of them, but I really can't place any particular moment. But lot of joyful moments. I must say, it's been a good balance of joyful moments and difficult moments. That's what's keeping me going in that sense. But yeah, I really can't think of anything in particular. Is there anything specific that you're referring to?
Generally, because I mean, we've spoken about this journey and the challenges and the frustrations. What comes to mind is that like most of it is because like our normal ways of being is different from these children with special care, and our normal ways of education or training to children also are very different, and therein lies the challenge. Not that the children are the challenge, or it's not like they are the challenge. It's simply that our methods are different. So,
So I think, to answer your question, if you happen to visit our home, we are one big dance party over here in the evenings. So we have a ritual where the kitchen is our adda, and Amaya sits there. She's got a speaker, because now I told you she also has, a little less hearing. But even when her hearing was better, she loves music, rocking music, and we all are dancing around her. So that little one has got all of us dancing around. And but I think that is the highlight of the day for us. We all unwind having our dinner around her, and there's music, there's dance, there's gymnastics happening by my son. So these are the very joyful moments, and that's actually what made me do what I did, because I saw her respond so nicely to music, dance around her. Anything what I ask her to do, she would do. So that's the joyful moment I can think of, which happens almost every day in my house.
that's so nice to even hear, and sounds like happy moments and good memories.
Yes, it is.
So, anything, as a last message, anything that you want to say to the audience and all the caregivers who are watching the end?
I think I'd like to submit the importance of self care. uh, Very, very important. The importance of also doing the necessary tests that is required. And I specifically say this because uh, I realized when my daughter had was diagnosed with a rare disease. uh, there are, as I told you, there are only 130 in the world, and I can't see anyone, maybe one person in India. What happens with rare diseases also is, many a times it is told by doctors, अच्छा आपको दूसरा बच्चा नहीं करना है तो ये टेस्ट करने की जरूरत नहीं है. But unless we do not know how many people suffer from this, also to get medical assistance, to get clinical research done, all of these things becomes challenging. So I know it's a function of also finances, because these tests are very expensive. But if possible, please do the tests so that more people identify what is their illness, and we could have the right medication and assistance for any kind of illnesses which are there world over. And I think, again, coming back to the point, it's important when you are caregiving to invest some time into your nutrition, into your grooming, into asking for help if it is required. And, we all tend to be this very I will do it, I will do it. So I think it's important for us to let somebody else also do it. That is the best way. If you share your burden, it will be a lot more easier on ourselves and also on the patient. I mean, because just one person dealing, a change of face, a change of name is always good. So I let that happen in my house. I mean, I let people take Amaya, do different things, because just me and her, we may just end up in a war zone. So that's how, we should ideally delegate our work as well, and never stop doing something uh, on your own, which means it could be your work, it could be a hobby, it could be anything. Please nurture something that is specifically yours. For me, this is my passion. This is my everything, that I want to reach out to other parents because I understand them. I live this life every day. And that's my mission, vision, everything in life. So that's something which we can all introspect and figure out what is it that they would like to do individually.
That's beautiful and a lot of insights for everybody watching. Thank you, Kavita. It was a pleasure and an honor to speak to you. And
Thank
more
you.
power to you and everybody, all the parents of special care children.
Thank you so much, Preeti, and thank you to the entire team of Caregiver Sathi. Very, very happy to speak with you, and I hope this changes a few minds, and we have more people taking care of us themselves and the others in a much better way.
Thank
Thank you. Bye bye.